Silence. The type of silence that comes from being frustrated. But what if frustration wasn't the problem? When we stop being honest with the people around us because of frustration, or there's one deeper, and we stop being honest with God and ourselves, we're really not protecting the relationship. It's a form of abandoning. And I see it. Everywhere I look, I find faithful leaders who are performing spiritual activities while carrying disappointment that they don't really name. We're praying the right prayers and saying the right things, but inside there's this quiet place. Not because you don't love God, but because you don't know if it's safe to be honest with yourself and Him, and not knowing what to do with that disappointment. So today, I want to talk about that silence, and I want to show you something Jesus taught about that I think might change your perspective. Last week, we talked about what happens when your expectations get bruised. When your life didn't go the way you prayed and something inside begins to shift and the wound is real. I see it. And most of all, God sees it. What I'm hoping you understand today is that wound creates something more even dangerous than disappointment. It creates silence. And silence is relational death. Jesus told a story about silence, and this may be a little different perspective than you've heard before, but it's about two sons who excluded themselves from their father's house just in very different ways. You probably know the story. It's the story of the prodigal son. But it's really a parable about two sons. The first one is famous. He comes to the father and in effect said, "You're dead to me. I want nothing to do with you anymore. Give me my inheritance and I'm going to go make a life for myself." And the father obliges. The son runs off to Vegas or wherever and squanders all of his money on cocktails, hotels, until one day he wakes up broke, rifling through a dumpster for food, and he comes to his senses and he starts his way home. As he's hitchhiking his way back, what if he's thinking about his father? What response does he expect? Wrath, fury, probably a lot of, "I told you so. You made your bed, now lie in it. You're going to get nothing from me." Those would have been my thoughts. So the son practices speech all the way home. "Sir, I know I was stupid. I've made huge mistakes. And honestly, I know I'm not even worthy to be called your son. But if you'll just let me back, like as a groundkeeper or something, I'll work this off. I'll pay my own way. I'll do everything I need to earn your favor again." But here's what the son doesn't know. The dad's been waiting on the porch. He's been waiting for him to come back since the day he left. And every day he sits there looking with eager eyes over the horizon, week after week, month after month, to see his son's silhouette coming down the road. The father has no interest in making him work off his debt. So when the son finally gets back to the property and begins his speech, he hardly gets 2 words out before the father sweeps him into the biggest hug that he's ever been hugged in that point of history, and he kisses him. And he says to his servants, "Hurry, hurry, quick as you can. Bring the best robe and put it on my boy. Fire up the grills and throw the best steaks on. Get the biggest decorations and the loudest system, this speaker system you've ever had. You can find, for my son who was dead is alive again. And that party went on for a long time. Now let's talk about the second son. He was also in a position of self-exclusion, even though he never left the grounds of his father's house. At some point during the party, the father realizes he hasn't seen his older son around, and he goes looking for him because that's what God does. He's always looking for you. And when he finds the son, the older son is fuming mad and he refuses to join in the party. Now, notice he's already at the party, but he refuses to join in the joy. Standing at the party, hearing the music, seeing the joy, but refusing to join in. Sometimes we stand this way, not on the outside, but on the inside. And the older son says, I never left. I did everything right. I never ran off and squandered everything, and you never gave me a party. And the father says, Son, everything I have is already yours. You always have me. Let's party. Two sons, two forms of silence. The younger son said, I'm done with you. The older son said, I'm here, but I'm not going to participate. One left physically, one stayed, but refused intimacy. What excluded the younger son was his recklessness, and what excluded the older brother was his righteousness. And both were self-imposed. Self-imposed. And it breaks my heart because I've seen so many disappointed leaders who are the older brother. You still show up, you still serve, you still do all the things you need to do, but inside, somehow you've checked out of the joy. You're at the party, but not really participating. Somewhere along the line, you started believing I did everything right, and God didn't show up for me in the way He shows up for everybody else. You prayed for healing, somebody else got healed. You believed for a breakthrough, somebody else got it. You stayed faithful through the hard seasons, and someone who wasn't even trying got the blessing you were waiting for. And that wound created silence. Not the kind where you stop, the kind where you pray, but you don't really let God in. It's hidden resentment. You quietly withdraw from the heart, from the one who matters most. And this is a really dangerous part because we don't often realize we're even doing it. It isn't really intentional. It's so subtle the way it begins to slip, just a little bit of withdrawal, just a little bit of disappointment. And we stop expecting joy. We stop believing that God delights in you. And you start measuring your worth by what you do instead of whose you are. Oh, and the enemy loves this because frustrated honesty is still relational. You're still engaged. You're still vulnerable. You're still expecting something. But silence is relational death, and the enemy loves it. So what did the father do with both sons? He goes out to meet them. He ran to the younger son and he went out to the older son looking for him. God pursues us no matter what. He doesn't wait for us to work up the courage to speak. He doesn't sit in heaven saying, when they get it all together, He comes looking for you. Because the party isn't complete without you. And what he says to both sons, to the reckless one and to the righteous one, is the same. Everything I have is yours, and you are always with me. The younger son believed he was unworthy. The older son believed he's unappreciated. But both stories, both beliefs kept them from intimacy. But neither story was true. As one interesting thing about this story is the father never condemned either son. Not the one who ran off, and not the one who stayed but refused to rejoice. Grace was already there. The inheritance was already theirs. The party was happening. In other words, judgment isn't about condemnation. It's about exposure. When we understand that judgment didn't come from God, judgment came from their own self-imposed beliefs that excluded them from all that God had for them. It's a wake-up call. It's God turning on the lights of what we're really doing. So when we go silent with God, we are excluding ourselves from intimacy we already have access to. The older son was standing outside the party, believing he was excluded, but he wasn't. He excluded himself. That judgment was self-imposed, and the same is true for us. When we go silent with God, we're not protecting ourselves from his disappointment. We are preventing ourselves from accepting his invitation. So which son are you? Are you the one who left and now afraid to come back? Are you rehearsing your speech and practicing how you earn your way back into his favor? Let me tell you, he's not waiting for your speech. He's running toward you, and he doesn't want your performance. He wants you. Or are you the older brother, still showing up, still serving, still doing everything right, but quietly refusing to join the joy, believing somehow God has been unfair to you, measuring your faithfulness by what you do, measuring your faithfulness by what you didn't get instead of what you've always had. Everything God has is already yours. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to prove it. You just have to receive it. And it starts by being honest, where we stop performing spiritually and we start being real with about where you actually are. God doesn't need your polished prayers. He wants your real heart, even if that heart is frustrated, even if it sounds messy, even if it sounds like, God, I don't understand why you didn't. He can handle it, and he's closer than you think. The Psalms is full of people who were furious with God, confused, even brutally honest, even accusatory. I love David's writing and the other people in the Psalms. Like, how long, O Lord, will you forget me forever? Or, why do you stand off, God? My tears have been my food day and night. They're real. These aren't whispered confessions in shame. They were prayers written down, sung in worship. Can you imagine singing like that in worship? But they always ended coming back around, starting with brutal honesty and coming back around to praising God for who he is. And you know, God never rebuked them. He met them exactly where they are. Because disappointed honesty is still intimacy. But polite silence is walking away while you're pretending to stay. The path back to intimacy doesn't come through pretense, it comes through honesty. And I am inviting you to stop standing outside the party. Stop believing your frustration, your disappointments disqualifies you. Stop performing when your heart is silent. Come back to the table, not because you've earned it, but because the Father is already looking for you, and everything He has is already yours. This is the kind of conversation and the space I hold in my vibrant living circle. No mask, no pretense, authentically being who we are on our journey, following our vision and our dreams, a space to grow together and support each other and be real. To be real, even if it feels a bit hard right now, it's a space to grow and heal and learn. It's a space to be you, even if you've been silent for a time and maybe you've been standing outside the party. Maybe it's time to come home and join. The link to come as a guest is wherever you find me sharing this. And I have one other thing I want to share with you today. We began the 7-day challenge of discovering 7 sacred no's, how letting go can set you free. One of Vibrant Living's core paradigms is transformation is the continual process of letting go. Through this challenge, we will be learning 7 sacred no's of being able to let go, say no, and not feel guilty while you're doing it. So the link is wherever you find me sharing this as well. And I look forward to seeing you in those spaces. Come back to the table. God is watching for you. He loves you more than you can imagine. And I will look forward to seeing you soon. But that's it for today. Bye for now.